I've been going on here barefoot, and I've been going like this, and I've been really trying to drive through the back glute and pull the leg up. So kind of look like this. I'll be here and I'll be on my toes, trying to really push into the pad here, and I'll flex the butt. Try to really flex that glute and then try to hold. It's like you can flex so hard you can get like almost that functional patterns input that you get when you're doing some of the twisty stuff from FP. Excited to get some of this stuff put together a little bit later today. This is RG bells from Functional Patterns. And just you fill these guys up with water. There's a bunch of different ones in here. Then we got the Lever King. You put this on your leg and you do all kinds of different motions with it, inward and outward, and all kinds of different positions. Before I start my workout today, I'm going to start with a little bit of myofascial release. So these balls, these are from Jill Miller. Let's see, does it have a... I always forget her brand. She used to be Yoga Tune Up and then changed it to something else. But let's see, is it on here? Tune Up Fitness. Boom, there you go. Just go on her site, or she probably has them on Amazon. Go to Tune Up Fitness and just buy every ball that she has. She's got a bunch of different balls, and the balls go in these totes. We're not allowed to call them sacks, but these are ball sacks, right? It's okay to say that. It's nice when they're in these because there's certain movements and exercise that you want to do while it's in there. I actually took mine out of the thing it was in and just put it in the winding ropes. That's these, by the way. It's another company. Like, just go support these companies. Go buy some of their shit. You know, it's not... I'm not trying to make side money off any of this stuff, but go and purchase this stuff. It's just good for you. It's a good way to warm up. Kind of cold in here for today, and you really want to try to get that spine moving. Some of you may have noticed I don't use my spine much when I'm sprinting. I stay pretty stiff a lot of times, and I'm trying to improve that. And so I get into throwing my head over foot, back and forth. Really get that side to bend more. I can even do it while I'm walking backwards, walking forward. I can do it underhand. And you feel it in your shoulders and stuff too. If you have a wonky shoulder or even a wonky knee, you'll feel this quite a bit. Just getting the body real warm. I think the myofascial release stuff is best done after your body's a little bit warm. Just, throw that Ben & Jerry's in the microwave for about 15 seconds and it softens it up a little bit, right? That's what we're doing right here. Because we want to get right to it. And you want that spoon to go right in there. Into the fish food. I don't have to be on here forever, It's just a few minutes. And when I start my workout later too, there's no reason why I can't incorporate this in between some stuff. It's a lot of work. It doesn't probably look like much, but it adds up. So this is a big favorite of mine, is to take these guys and to run them through my neck and my mid back. One thing I'll say about myofascial release is that you want to try to make it as comfortable as you can, because it's going to be already fairly uncomfortable. And so I don't really necessarily need to put down a pad on the floor, but I'm going to, because it just makes the experience easier. So I've just personally found that if I can make something that's kind of difficult, if I can make it as comfortable as possible, then I'm going to get the best outcomes. It's kind of like you're going to pick the best shoes and the best socks for your longer runs and stuff like that, right? And you're going to go with the ones that you know. So this idea of we have a comfort crisis and things like that, I understand what people are talking about. I get it. Like, we got to be tougher. We got to be more resilient. All those things make sense. But at the same time, when you're about to do the difficult things, or you're about to do something that you know is going to kind of hurt, try to figure out whatever way possible to mitigate some of that pain. So we'll drop down here. I have a couple favorites for myofascial release, but I would have to say that this one is my most favoriteest. And let's see here. Line up on these balls. Easiest way to start this is to line it up with your head, your neck. And then it should be pretty straight from there. So I want to be kind of way down here. And right now you'll see the balls are going to disappear at some point. But this is on each side of my vertebrae of my neck. When you start to lift your hips up is when you'll start to get some good pressure in there. You can even stuff something underneath your hips, a pillow or whatever, so that your hips are going to stay up without you having to work for it. Because again, trying to make this whole experience as comfortable as possible. So the first thing I'll do is just kind of cross my arms over. Then I'm going to lift my hips up, start to drive my neck into the balls there. And the one weird thing is that your shirt will get rolled up in whatever it is you're rolling on. And it doesn't feel like death because I've been doing this pretty religiously. But for a lot of you, you'll think you think you're gonna die. I might need to. No, I think I can go. It's kind of hard because it's rolling my shirt into the things. There we go. Okay. So the spot I'm on right now, these are some of the kind of breathing muscles you kind of get into. Do some jumping jacks. This stuff right here is going to help your shoulders to move better. Those of you that have banged up shoulders, it's going to help your shoulders to function better for the day. This is one of the cofactors. This is one of the problems that you have with your shoulder, is that you're tight in certain other areas. And there's kind of trigger points and trigger mechanisms that are just preventing some of your ranges. There's a lot of other areas to get to too, so this is not the only area to get to when you're talking about a banged up shoulder. But I like to work this area, not so much for my shoulders. My shoulders are fine. They're good to go. My joints in general are good to go. My ankles, my knees, my elbows, hips are pretty good. Not all of them have like the greatest mobility, but they all function pretty good. But I like to do this for my spine. You get videoed and filmed and whatnot as much as I have over the years. It's really easy to see the holes that you got in your game, you know. So now if I take my hips and I tuck them under me, these two balls are driving in hard into the erectors. And then I'm also, I can also relax my stomach. And I can also flex my stomach. And I can also tuck my hips under me. Yikes. That gets to be pretty crazy. And then the tightness in my lower back is there quite a bit because I have my butt kind of sits back a little bit. My hips are kind of shifted back. And that kind of rotated hip angle just kind of puts constant tension on my lower back, which is really the main reason why I think I look pretty stiff. I think there's a lot of other areas that I'm pretty good, but that area is pretty stuck. Basically from almost like from my abs to like here. Like, yeah, from here to like here on my body is like, it doesn't want to twist. It doesn't want to like open up. So the hips are tight, lower back's tight, and through the abdomen, all tight. And so nothing's going to happen to them magically. I need to work on them. And so here I be. So that's good. Like I didn't spend a crazy amount of time on this, but we did spend a few minutes, right? And for someone like me to make progress on this, I have to do this like a lot. I got to spend a few hours a week doing this kind of thing. Not just this, but a handful of other things too. Ooh, that's really getting in there. Wow. Your range of motion in your shoulders will improve drastically by doing this. And again, I'm not just doing it for my shoulders. While we're here, excuse me, while we're here, I'm going to spend a moment to get into a spot that pretty much kills just about anybody. You can walk up to any lifter and you can touch the spot on them and they're going to want to punch you in the face. And I'm going to have Ryan just put his finger right on the spot that I'm talking about. It's kind of near the shoulder blade. Yep. That's it. Doesn't take much. So we're going to jam the ball right in that spot. And it'd probably be a good idea to take it out of the tote, but I'm going to see if I can leave it in there for a second. Because we don't need both balls. We really only need one at this point. And sometimes some of this stuff's hard to line up on. So there we go. I got right into the back of the shoulder. I could tell that I'm not on the spot because it just doesn't hurt that bad. Like all this feels like is there's pressure on the back of my shoulder. It doesn't feel like anything more than that. But once you find your spot, you'll start to feel it radiate to other areas. And those of you who have a lot of trouble with the front of your shoulder, this is the spot you want to attack, is the back of your shoulder. Not always for everybody, but pretty much almost always all the time. Right there, that's it. Once you find the spot, you want to see if you can get some movement Don't move off the spot. Stay on the spot, but see if you can move your arm around a little bit. And you might have to breathe through it. You might have to flex through it. Like when it hurts, you might have to like just flex that spot. So I can kind of like flex the back of my shoulder here and I can be like, fuck you, bastard. But once you flex, then you want to relax. Let that ball dig in there. So this is one of the reasons why my joints are holding up pretty good, is because I do this kind of shit. So I just told you my shoulders, they're not messed up, but the back of this shoulder, especially this side, got probably tweaked a little bit doing something a couple days ago. I actually think it might have been, I was doing some pretty heavy lateral raises. I've been trying not to be such a pussy lately. And so I've been using a little bit more weight on stuff. I was using like 40-pound dumbbells. There we go. Then, once you have moved your body around while doing your MFR, your myofascial release, then you're going to want to move the ball underneath you a little bit. So you start to just move a little bit and try to find a new spot. And you may find something in your trap and you might go, oh, that's a dirty bastard. Or you might not. You might have to go and find something more. Oh, okay. All right, there we go. Okay. This is probably a rotator cuff muscle. I think there's 4 of them, and they're like this. There's only like the size of your fingers, not very big, and they attach all through the back and tie in through the shoulder. Yo, what's up, Eric? Did you bring the lube and the posing trunks?
I did. I brought all the lubes.
Oh, fresh haircut? No?
I had this the last time we...
Oh, last time you saw me? Maybe you were wearing a hat. Oh, you were wearing a hat. I think last time. Oh, you weren't?
That's okay.
Your Giants hat?
You're not paid to pay attention to people.
That's all right. I'll get better at it. Nice haircut.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Where are you going?
They're right here. They're in this box right here. Oh, that felt amazing. Since I'm on a roll over here with demoing this stuff, I'm gonna keep showing you some shit. A lot of times this stuff's better too with your shirt off because you want that direct contact on your skin, especially when you utilize this ball. This ball, very inexpensive, you can get it off Amazon, but this is gonna be the best thing that you can buy. One of the best things you can buy for some of your myofascial release, because you can do so much with it. It doesn't seem like you could. It seems like it'd be kind of like good for 1 or 2 things, but it works well for a bunch of stuff. So the first thing we'll start with here is we'll start with throwing this guy right into your lower back. And again, if you do this without your shirt on, it's going to hurt about 75 times worse, but it'll be a little bit better because it will really pull your skin. I would recommend that you don't go directly on your spine on any of these things. Never actually roll on your spine. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's a good idea. So have it on the outsides of your spine. But just this right here, probably getting your QL, your quadratus lumbardum, spinal erectors, maybe even like lower lat. All this stuff is a big reason why Mark Smelly Bell is very stuck together. That's why my shit don't move so good, because some of these areas they're just stuck. Years of training. And then you can even get into some of the shoulder with this ball, but this ball is not ideal for the exact thing I was working on earlier, because it starts to get into your, kind of smashes your bones. So this is good though for the lat, and so we'll go over here more. And you can just sit here, just like watch TV, pick your nose, fart a little bit if you need to. So you can kind of hit this any time of day. I usually like to try to do this later in the evening and stuff, but I've been training pretty hard the last couple days, so I figured I'd kind of start my workout off with some of this. Yeah, now, so the lat, the part of the lat that I'm on right now, I feel it radiating through the shoulder, and it feels like the slight pain that I have in the back of my shoulder, even though I'm not on that same spot. What you'll learn is that there's command centers for certain things. So if, remember in Terminator 2, when Arnold, he hacks open his arm, he pulls his arm off, that scene where he's in the bathroom. I'm sorry, in Terminator 1. By the way, that movie was terrifying when I was a kid. It was like a horror film. It was very scary, and now it's all too real. Skynet's going to be fully realized before we know it. But he pulls off, he rips off his arm. And then you see these like robotic ligaments and tendons, and you see them moving around. He's trying to get his hand to move better. He's trying to like repair it. And he starts pushing through here, but like look what happens. Like, you know, I'm not a robot, but when you start pushing through here, see how my hand is moving around? Right? So these are control centers for here. And then these guys, this part is a control center for your foot. So you push on certain parts of your calves, you can get certain parts of your foot and sometimes your toes to move as well. And so there's like what's called a referred pain. Maybe not a lot of people have heard this before, but there's some of you probably have. You've heard me talk about it before or picked it up from other people. But there's referred pain, and sometimes referred pain can be you work right here because this is killing you. You have like patella tendonitis, and the patella swells up a little bit here and there, and it's just driving you absolutely crazy. And then you start to work through here. You start to work through some of the musculature here. Maybe you get a little bit into like the IT band, which is sort of right here, which is kind of the delineation between. And again, any lifter that's worth a shit, you can just press on these things on them, and it's going to probably hurt like a motherfucker. Some of the guys and girls and stuff that are maybe a little bit better conditioned and a little bit more mobile and take care of their bodies better, it might be a little bit harder to find some of these tender spots on them. That's pretty tender for me. So what does this cost me when this is tender? Like what else? There's downstream effects, right? And there's upstream effects. This pain that's radiating through here could be causing, it could only be causing just stiffness in the foot. And that stiffness in the foot can cause my foot to land differently every time I'm doing something, whether I'm punching the bag or whether I'm running or whether I'm jumping, right? And you can see how that will have a compounding effect over time. And so we want to try to work through some of these things. It's not complicated. You can do all kinds of stuff for it. What I'm doing right here, just kind of kneading it, really effective. But some things are harder to get a good angle on, and you might need a super friend to dig a heel in there. You might need a super friend to dig an elbow in there. Or you might need to be a super friend to yourself and just do your own stuff. But it's hard sometimes to do your own stuff. So as I was babbling forever, that shoulder just completely released. I could feel it. It just feels way better. This doesn't even hurt anymore. Whereas before, when I first went on there, I was like, whoa. So this guy right here, I can't say it enough. It's one of the best things you can get, especially for all the different myofascial release things that you can do, but for the lower back. Just digging this thing into your lower back is amazing. And then for those of you who have lower back issues, you're going to want to get into the hips and the quads a little bit too. So you go here. And it's up to you on how much weight you want to release into the ball. So right now this is really passive. I don't feel much going on here. Once I drop down into here though, and once I try to melt over the ball, now there's probably 180 pounds of pressure on there. Whatever some of my body weight is representing here. You pick a hand up and try to drive into it more, or I can pick this other knee up. I can start to turn and rotate. Once you start to do that, it really starts to suck. And then you want to move again. You want to move. I trained some legs yesterday, so there's some tightness just from that alone, too. This is way longer than I would normally spend on this before a workout. But I'm doing it for more like demo purposes. So yeah, hips, and I showed you the lower back, and those are two great things for the lower back. This is just trying to get into the groin and get into some of those inner thigh muscles. And some of this is just stretching too. Like this is like, it's kind of a stretch, right? And when you stretch and you have this pressure like this, along with, I have the pressure here, but I'm also stretching and lengthening that area. It's not as hard. Like this doesn't really feel like a crazy stretch. But if I have this off of here, where I don't have that pressure, I start to feel a little bit more of that stretch. That's interesting. Some of this pressure kind of almost protects you a little bit. Whoa. It's hard to tell what the compounding effects are of some of these things. Like this is pretty crazy right here. I didn't even know that was going to be that gnarly. Sometimes it make you feel like you're going to throw up. But just to tell you a little bit more about how much certain areas can really bother you, and they can impact other spots. My foot has been bothering me for a while now. Been a few weeks. I haven't run in a few weeks. I just took off completely. And I'm trying to heal my heel. It'd probably be easier if I just take this guy off. This is Field Grounds, by the way. People ask me a lot about them. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Field Grounds. These are dope. They kind of look like Jordans. Nice design. Nice and fat, nice and thick. And then I also have, on the inside, I have these soles from David Weck. David Weck made some soles. He's kind of prototyping. I'm trying to get feedback right now, and we're just, we're working on that. So, I've been trying to figure out how to get rid of this pain in my heel. The pain in the heel is either from a Achilles tendonitis, or it's like plantar fasciitis. But it doesn't really matter what it is. The treatment's going to be the same. I need to rehab it the same. We're going to use myofascial release. We're going to go to a practitioner who knows what they're doing and have them mess around. I need to do that a few times more because I've only done that like twice so far. So I need to get more of that work done by a good professional. My friend Tyler does really good work. My friend Oscar does really good work, and another friend of mine, Jorge. And each guy, has their kind of particular specialties, but Jorge is like the top, not because of his experience, but just because of how much pain he puts me in, which is not necessarily always the best thing, but I only bring him out when I really need to, because I'm like, I don't want to see that motherfucker because he kills me. And then there's Oscar, and then Tyler has more of a gentle touch, but he's also a chiropractor and does really great work here in Davis, California. Tyler Poland, if you're in this area, you can look him up. Oscar is also in Sacramento as well. I forget how to say his last name. Do you know his Instagram? Oleguin?
Yeah, Oscar Oliver.
Oscar Oleguin, 00, Agent 00. So anyway, as I work through this part of my foot, Oscar has worked with Sacramento Kings and stuff like that over the years and some great athletes in the area. But anyway, as I work through this part, the perineals, I think they're called. As I work through this part of my shin, if I'm not on that spot and I push this part of my heel, yeah, right there is where it hurts. Okay? I feel that pretty sensitive. Certain times of day it's like way worse. And depending on how the foot is angled, sometimes that will hurt more, sometimes it will hurt less. For a little bit, there was something kind of balled up here for a bit, but I think I scraped most of that shit out of there. But anyway, yeah, it feels like I was running, and running with no shoes, and I just stepped on a crazy ass like rock, and it feels like I bruised this area. But as we all know, like an area can't be bruised for like weeks and months on end. I mean, maybe to some degree, maybe something could be, but that's kind of rare, right? So, when I go back here to this guy, and I find the right spot, let's see if I find it. It's not always easy to find. You'll find the spot that has this like impulse that you're like, oh, what's that? You're like, holy shit. So yeah, now I found a spot that when I push on this same area, it's not like it's completely pain-free, but it's almost, it's like a 50 or 60% difference. So that kind of indicates to me, my smelly science, that there's an issue in here somewhere. And it might not only be this spot, but that's a nice indicator, because now when I do this, when I flex my toes up like that, there's no pain there. And when I press on here, there's no pain. So it's like, okay, is this the control center? Is this the guy that helps this part of the foot move in some of these ways? It's like, I think it is. I think that's the dude that's responsible for that. So you just wail on him. And sometimes you need different balls. Like sometimes, like this ball is probably a little bit fat for this job. Probably a smaller one would dig in there a little bit better, but I have all the different types. And you're going to want to get all the different types too for when you're jacked up. You stay on an area for a while, and then you start working your way into some other spots. Oh, I do have a screwdriver over there. I brought one over. If you want it, it's on the next to where the scissors are and stuff, I think. It's interchangeable. You can flip it. So you just pull the thing out and flip it around. I know you always need one of those, so I was like, I need to bring one of those.
Yeah, good just to have one around.
One thing I'd say is, like, I don't think you want to go like real fast. I think you want to try to be a little slower. But you do want pressure, so you might have to. And again, for me, this is like stretching, because I'm down here on the floor. My lower back's getting stretched. My legs are getting stretched. It's actually like a little bit of a workout too. You'll find yourself getting warm and getting kind of sweaty when you do this kind of stuff. The other part that's been bugging me too is kind of right through here, this part of the calf. This guy. Not so much here and not so much here, but right here. Guys, remember that from Tommy Boy? It's not so much here, and it's not so much here, but it's like right here. Is there something there? And David Spade says to Chris Farley, he's like, no. And Farley has like this big, like giant red mark from like getting hit by something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, so anyway, it's right there. So that guy needs to be worked on. And again, we can go back to this dude, because this guy works for everything. And if you want to hear more about myofascial release, we just released a video where the Lever King, Naudi Aguilar, was explaining why he thinks it works, why he thinks it's effective. So there's not a lot of, like, you don't need to really worry a lot about the science and the research when you go and try to do some of these things, and they just have such a profound impact on you. You're like, well, that's all the information I need. You start to do some of these things, they really are helpful. But they can be tricky. It's been hard for me to try to figure out kind of what's going on with this leg. But because it's my foot, I use my foot all the time. I like to walk a lot, and I've had to be a little bit more conservative with my walking. I'm still walking, but not as long. And running is just, I cut it completely out for now. And we're just gonna play the old waiting game. Sometimes you got to be patient. It's not a big deal. I'm not injured anywhere else. My whole body feels fucking awesome. I'm having some of the best workouts that I've had in years. There's also a technique called active release. You might want to try to look into practitioners that do active release therapy. You can usually just look that up online. It's not hard to find. Nowadays, it's pretty prevalent. A lot of chiropractors know it, and they learn it so that they have an extra skill that they can be more, so they can be of more value to you. Now there is percussion and stuff you can do too, so you can smash on this a ton with vibration and all kinds of different things. The guns and all the different things, they work pretty good. But I don't want you to think that the gun is going to like do it all for you. It's not. You need to do a lot of modalities for this. Probably so boring watching me do all this, but for those of you who have plantar fasciitis, this ain't boring at all. You're like, I'm in the right fucking spot. So I believe that this is another command center for the foot. I think all the lower leg really is, right? I mean, the whole body really kind of is, but this area I think is really important to hit up. I think sometimes stuff's simplified too much. We have a tendency to just be like, oh, you hurt your back. That means you're a weak bitch. That means you have a weak back. It's like, no. I know people that pull 700 pounds raw, sumo, without a belt and conventional, and they hurt their back still all the time. And then someone else might say, oh, well, it's only strong in the deadlift and it's weak other places. I just think that's not good language. I don't think it's good terminology. I don't think just saying something is weak is the reason why you're hurt. There's a lot of factors, depending on the sport that you play. If you're a basketball player, jiu-jitsu guy, wrestler, football player, there's other people that you have to think about. You're not just managing your own body and your own body weight, but you're also managing the impacts that you're going to have. So that makes the injury situation very difficult to kind of figure out. But even if you're more recreational and you hurt yourself running, a lot of people hurt themselves running. I don't really agree with the terminology of an overuse injury either. I think that's kind of a cop-out, because what does that mean? I would say it's more like maybe it's a little underdeveloped. Maybe a specific area is a little underdeveloped, and it's not able to handle the type of training that you're doing. And we go back to the conversation I had with Stan Efferding recently, where he talked forever, it seemed like, about intensity, frequency, duration, and all those things. Usually those are the things that hurt you. And what hurt me was the exact thing that Chris Henshaw said could have potential to hurt me, and that was running fast for a long distance. And running fast for a long distance, depending on your definition of fast, I would say some of the times that some of the people that are doing marathons and half marathons and stuff, I think some of those people are actually moving pretty fast. But for the most part, people are just like jogging when they do those events. And, a lot of athletes are doing, 10, 11, 12-minute mile paces and stuff like that. And those you're just not moving that fast when you do those paces. Those are the paces that I do. They're not really fast. What I was trying to do is I was trying to hold like a 6 or 7-minute mile pace, sometimes even like a 5-minute mile pace for like 60 seconds, 90 seconds. And I just wasn't quite ready for it. And I was also swapping out my shoes and change. Like, I have a lot to learn, right? There's a lot of learning for me to do. I'm still new. If I was coaching someone in powerlifting and we were in the middle of a training cycle and they wanted to train more frequently and they wanted to train heavier and they wanted to like switch their shoes, I'd be like, dude, I would tell them right away, like, you can do whatever you like, but you're going to hurt yourself doing that. So maybe a little too much input at one time, getting fired up, getting excited about what I'm doing. I'm lucky to have really good friends, because I called Jesse Burdick and started asking him some questions about this, and he goes, oh yeah, he goes, check behind the knee, check kind of some of the calf / behind the knee area. And same thing with my buddy Andy Triana, he kind of said the same thing. And sure enough, it's like, holy shit, that area is like insanely tight. So I'll even do this while I'm sitting watching TV in my recliner, and I'll have the recliner up. I put the ball right there, and I try to get some pressure on it. I just sort of rotate my body around, and I just start like kind of wiggling around while I'm watching TV. But yeah, that hurts. Like, it hurts way more than it should. It definitely should hurt because you're putting pressure on an area. Like, that's totally normal. But the pain that I get from it is just abnormal. So you can also start to get into the tibs. The tibs are a little trickier. Normally for me, I need like a harder ball, but I have got some balls in here that I can grab that are just smaller balls. These are TRT balls. Get it? TRT balls? All right, I got bad jokes. And the surface that you're on matters a lot too. So like, if I want it to be a little harder, I just go here. Oh yeah, that's amazing. That feels good. I don't really doesn't feel like I have a big issue here right now, but that does feel really good. Oh yeah, that's amazing. I don't know how to explain it other than just saying like the pain sort of radiates into other areas. So I kind of do feel that through my foot. Basically working on these areas, it's never going to be a bad idea, So you got a couple spots to work on if you're somebody that has heel pain going on right now. Obviously, there's the rolling out of the actual foot itself. Might want to get those little geisha things, or what are they called? Guasha, those metal tools, and you can kind of rub through here. You can also take a golf ball, a baseball, lacrosse ball, and just rub, you know, kind of stand up and put your foot on it and, you know, roll it back and forth to kind of get those arches up. You can also kind of stand on some stuff to try to really, you know, get these arches to come up. You can start to do some corrective movement for your feet and try to, you know, potentially have your feet a little straighter, especially when you're walking and doing really low intensity stuff. Trying to make sure that that inside ankle bone's not just always slamming on the ground. That might be something that could be useful. Oh man, a little more gnarly than I thought. And so now we're starting to work our way back to where we started. My foot is like, it's kind of freaking out. There's probably some like nerves in here and stuff. This kind of reminds me of the scene in Kung Fu Panda when he doesn't even have any clue on how flexible he is, and he's just like reaching for the cookie jar, and he's doing a split. It's like you gotta get in weird positions that I probably don't even know, like I wouldn't be able to get into if I thought about them, because I wouldn't think I'd be able to get into them, but. You can also, like, sometimes you can just work on certain spots by just kind of grabbing it, moving the skin around. Sometimes it won't feel like you can do much, but then you start to dig in a little bit more. And even just a basic massage, just, you know, blood flow, just kind of try to get some of the tissues moving and get them just like unstuck. Sometimes everything down here is just gets a little stuck. It feels good right now. It feels a little jelly belly. All right, let's give this bitch a wrap. And I'm going to show you guys today. I'm going to show you guys the Toe Pro, which is right here, and then I also have this like balancy thing over here, along with this thing from Caldeets. So I got a lot of good options for some foot stuff. Clear that out of the way. But we're going to do a Voodoo band floss. And there's different types. Let me actually show you the other one too. So this is a really big and wide one. This would be almost better for quads. Wrap around your quads, or maybe the calves. This is one that I made, and we used to sell these, but we don't sell these anymore because no one knew what to do with them. But I like these a lot because these things just make your hands stink forever, and I hate the smell of those damn things. But anyway, let's see. Should I wrap the? I can wrap the calf. I can wrap the ankle. I can kind of wrap anything, but let's stick with wrapping the ankle so I can show you guys. We'll stick to the plantar fasciitis modality here. I also found that this wider wrap wasn't good for my foot, but a thinner version of this is good for the foot. You can pick those up at Rogue Fitness. I think Kelly Starrett might sell some still, but maybe he's paired with Rogue Fitness. I'm not sure. His company is Ready State. So as I said, you know, it seems like there's an issue through this area, right? So we have to wrap from here. We got to go all the way up to about yay, all the way up to about here. So you got to kind of keep that in mind when you're doing it, so you can figure out like how much, how many times you're going to go around like the same spot and stuff like that. So I'm going to start here. See the arch of my foot, which isn't amazing, but start there. Pull some of that tension out. And in my opinion, we want these to be pretty tight. So what I like to do is I like to just unravel it. It's not really a big deal. It doesn't need to be wrapped up. And now we'll just pull. And then with each pull, give it a good tug from underneath. So give it a good tug here. You also can do some exercises here. This is a la Dick Hartzell. Jump stretch. Dick Hartzell, by the way, invented all this stuff. He invented all of these things I'm showing you right here. I think he's still alive. I think he's probably in his like late 70s, maybe early 80s. Can do like splits and stuff. Amazing guy. I remember seeing a video of him one time. He was teaching at a seminar, and he went to get up on the table, and he went to show people like how strong his ankles are, because he can like roll his ankle on the side, and not only can he roll it on his side because he's got good mobility through his foot, but he can like jump and land on it. So as a demonstration, he went to get up on this table and do it, and then he just the table completely collapsed underneath him, and he just fell off to the side. But because he's such a tough bastard, and because he's like made out of rubber, he was totally fine. But yeah, but Dick Hartzell, he created the jump stretch bands and the bands that Louis Simmons and Westside Barbell would use for their speed training. He also helped a lot of people develop a lot of power and jumping ability by teaching them how to use those bands for stretching and also eventually getting into this kind of voodoo flossing type stuff that he does. He actually wrapped me at a trade show. My ankle was super swollen. I think I was just coming off of that fall that I did with 1,085. My foot blew up like a balloon. He wrapped me up. My foot felt totally fine the rest of the day. And that was what I utilized to recover from that fall too. I'd wrap it up every day. And right now, I'm wrapping this twice a day. So now, you start to make a decision about coming upward. I don't really need to wrap here. It's like there's not anything, I don't think there's anything going on there. So I'm going to start to wrap upward. Some people like to do a mild wrap, and some like the wrap to be more intense. The more mild wrap, the advantage is you're going to be able to move a little bit better when it's actually on your foot, and you're also going to be able to keep it on longer. You wrap it tighter, you got to be in and out of it a little faster, but you get the advantage of just having that intensity, which is nice. So now we have to start to make a decision on how we're going to like tie this guy off. So we're going to go here. This will be the last wrap, and you want to kind of tie it off early so it's not super annoying to figure out at the end when you have kind of nothing left. And we don't want this under the foot either. So it's going to stay over top, because if it's underneath, then I can't do the exercises. You can see how it's crinkled the toes, right? Because it's pulling on all the skin, and it's pretty uncomfortable. You start out with without any weight, not weight bearing, and just move around. It's like it's time to cut these toenails, huh? Do some toe crunches. Got to make those noises. 98, 99, 100. Dorsey flex, plantar flex, move it around. I'm feeling a lot of good tension right through here. It's really nice. It hurts, but it feels good at the same time. And there's resistance within this. So like when I'm doing this movement right now, as opposed to when I do this movement with this foot, there's no tension, right? But this is almost like weighted because there's tension from the actual band. It's like it's giving me resistance. Full flex, all the way up, all the way down, as much as you can, all the way up, all the way down. And if you're not moving like this, when you're not weight bearing, and you go to weight bearing, it's gonna like feel crazy. So you want to get a lot of movement in there because you want some blood flow in there. So now we get up, and now we'll just go for like a little mini walk. You may want to be careful with how hard you go over top of the foot because there's a lot of bones there, and I found that can be really uncomfortable. So you want to pull. When you pull, you want to do exactly what I was doing. You want to pull underneath. If you go over top real hard, it's going to be very uncomfortable. You won't be able to walk very well. And you want to be able to move with this. Like you may even want to like push a sled. Even this alone is good. I can maybe drag this bag over here. The more movement we get, the longer that we can stay in here. And you don't want to stay in here for too long, but 3 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that should be pretty good. I realize you might not have, this kind of setup, but just whatever way you can find resistance to pull around. You could put a 45-pound plate on the ground and hook a jump rope to it and like try to walk with it. There's all kinds of different things you can do. Try to walk forward with this. Once we get this forward lean, this will be really nice because this is going to represent some angles that we might get into in running, sprinting, acceleration. And that is really challenging. That feels crazy on my foot. And it feels completely fine on the other foot. The right foot doesn't feel like it has any problems. Now, a couple exercises to do, and then we get to get out of this thing because it's starting to kill. So, let's move booby traps out of the way. Clip a toe and we're done. So, move this shit over here. Pachushka, pachushka. And now, the Toe Pro. I forget exactly what this is called on their website, but I hope you can see some of that writing there. They have this. They have this guy. They have another thing called a twister or something. I just suggest go on there and just like buy like a bundle. But this thing is absolutely sick. Oh, and this guy. So this is a balanced disc, basically. You get on here and you try to hold it, right? With this bad foot. And you get some of that unsteadiness, right? And then this is designed specifically to be like not impossible. So they did a good job designing this. Some people might hop on here and be like, this is too easy. But then try to squat, try to hip hinge. And try to do some reps, and you start to fall. It's not a big deal if you fall. Doesn't really matter. I mean, you can do the whole exercise like this if you wanted to, where I'm down. See how I have it on the ground? But my toes still have to flex a lot. My glutes have to flex. This is really how you rehab stuff. You rehab stuff, this looks like isolation, but we're trying to actually activate the whole body from the ground up. So like, I don't want to just be on here haphazardly doing like an isolated toe raise. I want to use my body as much as I can so I can flex my knee a little bit, my hip, my glute. I can flex on there and really move around once I start initiating the movement. So this, when my toes are back, that's when I start to feel the pain in that area, when the toes are stretched back like that. So that's a good signal. It's a good feedback. Then we just kind of take her nice and easy for a couple of them. If that hurts too much, you can have both feet on here. Play around with it a little bit, but try to keep the toes really compressed into it and do your best to try to balance on your own. If you need another touch point, it's all right, because you're going to get extra exercise out of just having that extra touch point. But we want blood, so we want to really work it a bunch. You can try to go to it a little bit, force the heels out, flick them out. They have exercises on their website too, so it gives you a lot more information. So now we'll pull it back a little bit. And we're just getting close to our time where we got to get out of this thing. There's some discoloration in the foot, but it's not terrible because we've been moving so much. If you don't move around enough, it's going to turn purple and fucking black and everything else, and that means you got to get out of it. It's not safe anymore. So now we're getting that whole hip to engage, and we can try to get that heel to go outward a little bit more. If this seems like a lot of work, it's because it is. Sometimes in life, there's only one way to do things. And sometimes it's with a lot of consistency and intensity, and to just put a lot of work in. Sometimes it's the way it goes. Louis Simmons famously said, you can't jump up onto a picnic table slowly. So there's certain things you're going to do in your life where it's like, it's just going to require a certain amount of oomph from you. And this guy is from Cal Dietz, famous strength and conditioning coach. I have not used this thing a ton, but some of the idea of it is that your heel is going to be on this side, and you're just going to, it's because of the angle, it's kind of forcing you to really be on your toes. And again, like sometimes having a little help with your balance is a good idea. So now I take some of this out of it. I gotta flex my toes harder, but it's just difficult. Wow, I didn't know it would be that much harder on this foot. Because this could be the problem. So it's kind of neat when you start to do these exercises. And then you find out what a bitch you are on some stuff. You're like, oh my God. So we can just do some step up type stuff on here. We can kind of kickstand it a little bit. We can get into the, I'm not doing karate, I swear. We can get into the hip. Oh, and then when you flip this bitch over, you flip this guy over, oh, then we get the added benefit of some myofascial release. Oh, God, that feels good. I don't know if they made it for that, but shit, it works great for that. All right, this leg is like gonna need to be fucking amputated at this point. And, you know, we closed it off with a good tab here, and that's important, so you can actually get yourself out of it fairly easy. Once you take her down a bit, you start to relieve some of that tension. It takes a while to get used to that, by the way. Like, most of you are not going to be able to hang out in there for that long like I just did, but it's something that has to be you work up to it. So now we can, if we want, we can still do some different movements and stuff while we still have this on here. I could try to work against that band. But yeah, I'm fried. Shit. Oh. Yeah, it feels crazy. It feels like I have an arch on this side and not on this side, because it really just kind of pulled all that up. Something to keep in mind about the arches in your feet are like bridges, and the support system comes from up higher. So doing this isn't going to really help build a support system. Because again, like a bridge, the support system's all up here. And in order to keep this ankle bone from being in here, which isn't really a problem for everybody all the time, but when you start to have symptoms and you start to have pain, then it's an issue, right? So you can see with just by moving my knee outward that just goes right there like that, right? The problem sometimes can be once we go out here, then sometimes the big toe is off the ground a little bit and you just start kind of walking all kind of funky. But the other thing you can do is you can just spread the big toe out, and look how that starts to make an arch in the foot, at least a little one. So that's why people wear those yoga toes and they try to spread the shoes. That's why people wear paluvas, because it can help spread the toes, allow them to splay naturally. And once they're able to splay naturally, then your feet are able to do what they're kind of meant to do. So that arch comes from being able to spread your toes apart and from your hip. But it's not even just the hip, and it's not nothing with the knee. By the way, your knee is just like a dumb joint. Like it kind of only goes here and here. It kind of only does this guy. It does more than that, but it kind of only does that. Your knee is always kind of just along for the ride of what your hip is doing and of what your ankle is doing. So I can do this. I control the foot with my hip, but I can also control my foot with my foot. But for me personally, and the reason why I got injured is because I can't control my foot with my foot very well, because my foot doesn't have much play to it. My foot is just like, it doesn't want to move anywhere else. And so when I'm running, it doesn't have like much play, right? And then this inside part, after running for a long time, would just start to slam down. Like, it's not like I would run like this the whole time. I would run probably initially like this and be in a decent position, but then as you fatigue, as you start to get tired, that starts to collapse and it loses its stiffness. I have a lot of stiffness through my body, like tightness through my body, but it's different than the stiffness that we're asking the body to do. We're asking our foot to not have any deformation when the foot slams down for a sprint. And when your foot slams down and it does that, that's where you might end up with some symptoms. Anyway, that's how to fix your fucking foot. There you go. There's a tutorial on plantar fasciitis and how to fix up your foot. It might even be a tutorial on Achilles tendonitis. Strength is never weakness. Weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later.